Welcome to Rauta. Here we are once again in my home city, Turku, Åbo, or Svenska. And this is Fusio, a club where Centinex, a Swedish death metal legendary band, is going to play tonight. And here we have Man of the Hour. Please, sir, state your name. Why are you here with me?
I'm Martin. I'm the founding member of Centinex. The only original member.
Only original member. We will talk about the lineup, obviously, today. But first, let's tackle the main question. Where was Centinex founded? It is an old band.
Yeah, we started in basically late 1990 or early 91. Recorded a demo, a rehearsal tape first, and then a demo, and then we did our first album in 1992, which was at the peak of the Swedish death metal era.
Definitely.
Yeah. So then we kept going with the band up until 2006. And by then I was fed up with the whole band, so I put it on ice for a while and started one other band, Demonical. But then in 2014, Centinex was like reactivated again.
Resurrected in a
way. So
to celebrate the 25 years is obviously something. And these guys were kind enough, or he was kind enough to give this CD for a giveaway with some nice autographs. I will give you, the fans who are watching this, I hope, 48 hours to comment. Why should you, above all people, to get this? So if you're late to the party, sorry you missed the train. So I will do a giveaway among you most active ones reacting to this interview with a comment. So in case you haven't heard the band, doesn't matter, as long as you're here to say why would you need this copy, and you will be among the ones who I will randomly select. All right, good luck with that, and stay tuned. Now we're gonna talk some Centinex. So let's talk about the early days. You mentioned the peak years of Swedish death metal, which I guess a lot of old people like us know it was a very, very active era. You had at the same time Norwegian black metal second wave storming in, then you had Swedish death metal pouring in, and a lot of thrash bands were more like, what the hell is happening to the world of extreme metal? Suddenly we have two major things happening and making everything chaotic. What made you to found a death metal band in all of the places in Sweden?
Yeah, it was basically the interesting, because back then I was like, 18, 19, something. And been listening to started with like normal heavy metal and hard rock in the mid-80s, and then went on to listen to thrash metal and speed metal and stuff, and always like looking for like more extreme and more brutal music. And then the death metal movement came in late 80s, early 90s there, and I was so into it, so I wanted to start a band myself as well. So I had been playing in a couple of punk rock bands before that, but not in like any serious bands. So then me and a couple of friends who also were like really into death metal, we started a band, and we had for a couple of months we had some different names, but then when we got the first real lineup together, which was late 90, if I remember correctly. So then we started then we formed Centinex.
Now, because of Swedish death metal being so important part of the whole death metal movement, especially back in the early days, but still, I mean, there are lots of great bands coming and all that stuff. How did you find your place among these other names? There were like N2, obviously, and Dismember, Grave, and all that stuff. How was the scene back in the days? Were you like just part of the guys, or did you have to find your way in?
Well, both. The thing was that a lot of the big death metal bands in Sweden, they were from the Stockholm area, and of course they were like bands. There were a lot of bands starting up around that time, and a lot of bands also in different cities. But back then, pre-internet times, so a lot of the scene felt that it was like concentrated to the Stockholm area, and we lived in a small city like 2 hour drive from Stockholm. So of course we were like, you communication was through letters and also tape trading and all this stuff. But if you wanted to hang with the big guys, then you and also if you wanted to go to a lot of the more like bigger or more important death metal shows, you went to Stockholm. So we felt that a lot of things were happening in Stockholm, and we maybe felt a bit like outside the whole scene. But so we tried to travel to Stockholm as often we could. But I mean, back then, a 2-hour drive was like a fucking huge distance.
So nature's life.
Yeah, exactly. And also because we were young and didn't have that much money, and the money we had, we spent it on buying records or beer. So but it was a interesting scene and movement, an interesting time, and of course we felt as being like a part of the scene. But on the other hand, also it was a little bit of like struggling. We were struggling all the time to like, because as I said, we felt a bit like isolated from Stockholm, where the things were happening. So it was a lot of this that if you want to be something and if you want to be seen and heard, then you have to be in Stockholm.
I mean, it makes sense, Stockholm being the capital city and the biggest city in Sweden, but when I compare it to, say, like Finland, we never had that Helsinki or capital city-based banding. Everybody was scattered in the smaller cities, and so we obviously felt very different. Like, okay, we're coming from smaller places. Well, Turku is, I think, a small in Finnish scale, but a lot of these smaller cities. And then when we were reading about, Swedish scene, it was like everybody seemed to come either from Stockholm or Gothenburg or whatever.
Yeah. And with Stockholm was this thing that, I mean, let's say the big four of the death metal bands, like Entombed, Dismember, Grave, and Unleashed, they were from Stockholm.
Yeah.
And you had the Sunlight Studio in Stockholm. Of course, you had the Gothenburg scene also, but as you all maybe know, the Gothenburg scene was a bit different compared to the Stockholm scene, with a bit more like melodic bands.
Lighter.
Lighter, yeah. I mean, those bands in Gothenburg, they were more influenced by like German speed metal and stuff, and more melodic stuff. And the Stockholm bands were like more influenced by like punk rock bands and,
so
and hardcore.
More rough stuff.
More rough, yeah. So I think the reason, I mean, if these 4 big Swedish bands, if they would have been like located in some other cities, like smaller cities, then it would have been different. But the fact that they were like located in Stockholm together with the Sunlight Studio, I think that and it, we are also talking about like the Stockholm sound. Yeah, it's like there is not. In Finland, you are not talking about the Helsinki sound or a Turku sound.
We don't even have any kind of a...
So I think all these things together, played a big part in this. Like that, a lot of the things were like concentrated to Stockholm, and Stockholm was like the important city.
Was there some kind of a snowberry one? Like if you're like outside Stockholm, you're like lesser band or lesser scene people, or was it just easy to get it mingle?
Yeah, in a way, you were a bit like if you didn't live in Stockholm and if you weren't part of that like Stockholm scene, you were a bit like outside, because it was so concentrated on Stockholm. And also, as I said, I mean, the sound. I mean, we are talking about the definition like Stockholm style death metal.
Yeah.
So and I know I'm back in those days. I mean, there were many people like moving to Stockholm as bands, like they relocated to Stockholm, and not only in like the death metal scene, but in general in the Swedish music scene. Because you have to keep in mind that back in those days, it was like when you didn't have the same ways of communicate, and the record labels or their offices were located in Stockholm. I'm talking about like music in general. So it was like Stockholm was the place to be.
So that was kind of like Swedish headquarters.
Yeah, exactly. And there you had all the parties and all the business people, and if you wanted to make yourself a name in the Swedish music scene, it was like Stockholm, where you had to live and be.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
So
Now, obviously, a lot of things have changed since those days, and suddenly Sweden was a very, very big country on the metal map. I mean, we're not talking exactly a big country in terms of population, same for Norway, same for Finland. Nordic scene has always been a bit weird. We're a bunch of small countries, but in the metal scale, there's a lot of weight. But Sweden, obviously, dominating the music scene is not even closely, restricted for metal bands. It seems like doesn't matter if you do pop music, do metal music, or you do whatever music, it's always, whether we look at the Eurovision, whether we talk about bands like ABBA or whatever, Sweden is big.
Yeah, it's...
What's in your cultural, core that makes Swedish music so goddamn good and popular?
Yeah, there have been a lot of discussion about this. Why Sweden was like was and is still is a key player within the worldwide music scene. And basically, many people, we think there are basically two reasons for it. First of all, you are able, when you go to school in Sweden, you get a lot of music classes, and you have these music schools in Sweden which are free, so you can learn a lot of music and play guitars and stuff, and that's one thing. And then also the possibility to get help in Sweden to get a rehearsal place and start a band, because they have this kind of it's kind of like societies which do get government support for cultural education. So it doesn't only have to be music, but if you are interested in art or something, you get help. So you can get money from them to buy equipment. They can also provide you with rehearsal places and studio time. And when you are a member of this kind of cultural thing, and every time you rehearse, the more you rehearse or play together, the more hours you get.
Okay.
So
the activity is being
or basically hours or money. So and that money the society they get it from the government basically. So I mean the first Centinex demo was completely financed by. We had been rehearsing for half a year or something, and for that we got 16 hours in the Sunlight studio to record our first.
That's a lot for a lot.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit hard to explain, because this is so special for Sweden. But there are basically two reasons for the Swedish music scene. Is that basically you get good teaching in school and help with music is quite an important thing in Swedish schools, and then you get this help from different kind of associations for starting a band and getting equipment and
well, that's very, very nice.
So
But early on, you had drum machine in use in the band, which was quite of an uncommon thing when it comes to a extreme metal band. Why was it so?
We have to go. We had a drummer in the beginning when we started the band. Then we kicked him out because we didn't think he was good enough before we recorded the first album. So then we got a new drummer. But then when he left the band, he got tired of it after a few years. And then we are back in this, what we talked earlier about, that if we would have lived in Stockholm, it would have maybe been easier to find a drummer.
Yeah,
but we lived in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours from Stockholm, in a small city with 10,000 people. We in the band were basically the only metalheads in that city. So it was really hard. So there wasn't any drummer in our city. We couldn't find it. And also back then, I mean, nowadays you can have a band with members living in different cities or even different countries.
Yeah, there are lots of international
Yeah.
lineups these days.
Yeah, but back then, the thing was that we had to, or all bands. I mean, you rehearsed like 2 times or even 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So and that was like really important. So to have a member living in a different city would have been like impossible, because then we couldn't like rehearse.
Yeah.
So and that was quite common back then that those who played in the band, they all basically lived in the same city or very close to each other. So anyway, we couldn't find any drummer, and we wanted to keep the band going. So the solution was to have the drum machine. And now when you look at it, it's maybe
Maybe something that you wouldn't do again.
No. No, we wouldn't. But it was such a it was a different thing back then. Today I wouldn't do it, or today we would have even if a drummer would live in I don't know, some other country, it wouldn't be an issue really. But back then it was you had to rehearse, and we rehearsed twice a week. Yeah. And God damn it if you missed like one rehearsal.
Yeah. I remember how serious it was. I was in my first band around 94, and it was like something like 7,000 people living in the city. So if you lost like a drummer like we did, then it was something like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Are we gonna split up? And in case you we'll find a replacement, then you know if he also leaves, that's it. No more drummers. So I get it. And people of today might not necessarily understand it, because, for example, I know people who have like hired guns. Like you could have a Finnish band and you could have some online drummer living in Germany, the drum tracks. Here you are, the album ready.
It's completely different today. So and but when we started to use the drum machine, our aim or goal was not that let's make this band like an industrial band or something and have the drum machine sound. But our aim, we wanted to keep the band going because it was so important for us. And as we didn't find any drummer in our nearby surrounding, we started to use the drum machine. But on the same time, we were like, we had decided that if we find a drummer, we will take the drummer into the band. And it even went that far that we were thinking about like relocating the band to Stockholm. We were like 4 members missing the drummer, so we were 4 guys, and we were like thinking about relocating the band to Stockholm in order to find a drummer. But then a couple of us, we were like, basically we would have been able to move, but a couple of the other guys, they had families and stuff, so that was impossible. So we used the drum machine for, was it like 5 years or something, 4 years maybe. And even did a couple of shows, a couple of live shows with the drum machine. But then we did find a drummer. So
now, obviously, things changed when you got a little bit more name and albums out, and suddenly you're not anymore just locked in Sweden. You are able to go play live outside Sweden. How was it back in the days? If you now, in hindsight, think about it, like, hey, we're gonna go abroad. We're gonna go to different places. There are fans outside Sweden. How was it for younger self to experience all this?
It was very exciting times. The first shows abroad, which Centinex did, was in Finland, like in 92. We played in Hyvinkää, I think, and Mikkeli. So back in those days, we were contacted by a guy who said that he could set up a show for us, and we were like, wow, we're going to play abroad. Back in those days, there wasn't like any money involved or anything, so we paid our own ferry tickets and came to Finland and played some shows. So, and then in 93, we got an offer to play in Poland, in Gdansk in Poland, a show like some kind of metal festival, indoor show, whatever. And that was like really exciting. And that was also like, yeah, we bought some cheap ferry ticket from Sweden to Poland. And you have to keep in mind that like in 1993, Poland, it was still quite like hard Eastern European style.
Exactly.
So that was like a real adventure for us. And we were like guys in the, we were like 19, 20 or something.
Yeah.
So we went to Poland and stayed there for a couple of days and played that show. And so and then we played in Finland some more in 94, 95.
Yeah, that's when I...
Yeah, exactly. And then we did our first show in Germany in 96. And that was interesting. I had been to Germany like once before when I was a kid, just like as a tourist. But to go to Germany and play a show there, that was like really exciting.
Yeah, I bet it was to have been an adventure for a kind of a young kid still.
Yeah, and also, I mean, when I was young and started to listen to metal and then discovered like German thrash metal and Germany was like it felt like that's like the fucking paradise or something when it comes to metal, and then being able to go to Germany and play a show there, that was like really exciting. So yeah, I mean, all those shows, and then after that, then we started to play some more in different European countries, like in the late 90s, like 97, 98, 99. So that was like, it was really exciting to, and not only to do the shows, but also the thing to get to travel abroad. And I have always been really interested in history, like mostly World War II, like historic stuff, and then being able to travel to Europe and see those countries and see those places, and so it was like really, really exciting times.
Yeah, that's touching the real crown where everything happened.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, obviously, death metal has had its ups and downs. I mean, if we go back to the late 80s or even mid 80s, when the death metal was blooming, everything was suddenly big and wow. And then, of course, came this 1990s, whether we call it kind of a second wave for death metal or whatever, it doesn't matter. It was still kind of a big and making impact. There were lots of nowadays classic albums. But towards the 2000s we go, suddenly death metal was not exactly anymore, I don't know if it was supposed to be even, but wasn't exactly trending anymore as such. And suddenly things like, I don't know, there was a kind of a momentum shift where people were like going into different genres, maybe even less into extreme metal. Was it affecting how were your albums selling or, gigs being set up?
Yeah, it was. I mean, as you said, I mean, in the early part, or like the first half of the 90s, this kind of like Swedish or Stockholm style death metal, that was like really popular. But then in the late 90s, and then when you went into 2000, then that kind of death metal was like really starting to die or fading away. And there was, I mean, in the late 90s, you had all these like more melodic death metal coming, and all these like bands with mixed maybe a bit like death metal and black metal. Dissection and all these bands.
Yeah,
those were like popular in the late 90s. So of course, we even if Centinex we have never seen ourselves as a Stockholm style death metal band, but of course this kind of a bit more brutal death metal, when that was like fading away, we noticed it as well. And many of if you look at like the bigger bands, for example, Dismember, who before their breakup they released this album in 2008, which was and back then when they toured Europe, they played for like 100 or 150. I mean, we played with my other band, Demonical. We played with Dismember in Sweden, in Finland, in what was it, 2009, I think, early 2008. We did 4 shows here in Finland, and we played here in Turku. I don't remember what weekday it was, but there were like 80 people.
Yeah, that's a very typical situation still.
Yeah.
Even though nowadays it seems like metal scene here in my home city, it's a little bit more blooming. But you could see like coming Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday evening, and you're like, hey, 50 people.
Yeah.
Like it is.
But yeah, so that was like really for the more brutal like Swedish death metal, the 2000. I mean, from I don't know, from the late 90s up till 2010 or something, that scene was pretty dead. But then it started to come back again, and now it's like really popular again. So it seems when it comes to all these kind of like metal genres or whatever you want to call them, it seems that the trends are going a bit in cycles.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's something which is like trendy and in or popular, and it takes a few years and then that disappears and something, but then it's like going in cycles and coming back. So yeah, I mean, Swedish death metal was popular in early 90s, then it faded away. Now it's back again. Let's see how long it will stay and what will be next. So
what is also curious is a lot of those bands that once upon a time decided they quit, like Dismember did, like Vomitory did, and now they're back again.
Yeah,
Old guys in the same generation, and they're making new albums as well. Has this boosted you as well, or is it just something like, okay, nice to have you guys back?
It hasn't like maybe really boosted us, but because it's also the older you get, or now I'm talking about myself, the older I get, the lesser I care about like what other people do or what other people think or whatever. So and that's maybe it has to do with the more like secure you are as a person when you get older and stuff there.
I was more like thinking like has it been, have you noticed some kind of a spike or surge in terms of like getting booked when these older bands are being resurfaced and all?
Yeah, maybe it has like helped a little bit that it's like it has helped. It's easier to get shows today than it was like 20 years ago, but that has also to do with its like the way of booking shows is has changed, and it's easier to travel now. Also, with you have like everything from low fare airlines to so there are like a lot of different reasons, but yes, of course that the bands are those like old bands who broke up and have started again. The whole scene has gotten a boost, which we have also like noticed, and which of course has been in a way good for us.
Now, one thing is, of course, for sure also is that more than ever before, we have the bigger metal scene nowadays. I mean, guys in their 50s, us, guys in their 60s even, are obviously still alive, going to the shows and all that stuff. But there's all, of course, new generation, people in their 30s, 20s, even teenagers. And in a way, metal scene is kind of still expanding. The old bands have new fans and people are fighting about these old names. But of course, there are even more bands. We see this surge of new old school death metal bands. I've often joked in my reviews that there's this kind of old school death metal revival thing, that suddenly bands with people who are like, I don't know, 20 years old are suddenly playing music which could have been coming out in, say, 1992. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about this kind of a retro thing in a way? Is it a good or what kind of thing it is compared, because they kind of sound like you, but at the same time, you know, it's not really the product of its time back in the days.
I understand what you mean. I try not to think about it too much. Of course, it's a bit funny to, in a way, when you start to think about it, that there are like bands with with persons who they weren't even like born. Then when the first wave, or like in the early 90s when that wave of death metal came. So, but of course it's nice that the new or younger generation is like carrying the torch forward and so. But you have also when you have to remember what from where that scene came. You have to I think it's in a way important to do your homework and understand from where the scene came from and what the music was all about and what the scene was all about and stuff like that. But of course, I think it's good that bands, there are like new bands, a new generation, which is worshipping the HM2 guitar sound. So
that is a very, very cool one. Then you mentioned it because I noticed a lot of people don't even know when you're mentioning it, this HM2, which is, by the way, a certain pedal model Boss HM2. And it's funny how it became this kind of a trademark. And at some point, people were definitely talking not only about Sunlight, but specifically HM2, or then it was Morrisound from Florida.
Yeah,
basically, see the world that if your death metal was outside of that, it's really real. But one thing is also interesting to me that when I was listening to your latest albums, I started going basically from the newest one to the little bit older one. And of course, I remember the older ones better. But I was thinking your music hasn't really changed that much over the decades. I mean, of course, as a musician, you notice the difference and all that stuff. But what I hear as a fan of the given style, I'm still thinking these guys are true to their roots. It's not like you have, say, Dark Throne started as death metal, then made black metal, then became something else, and some kind of proto-heavy, or those bands. In Flames from Sweden is a good example too. Started with mellow death, became a more core thing, and like, what the hell is going on? But Centinex is still playing death metal the very, should I say, traditional way.
I agree and disagree in this. Now, it's interesting that you say, because we have heard from some people sometimes that Centinex today sounds completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah, wow. That and in my opinion, maybe if you listen to the band, if you listen to Centinex from '92 up until now, and you listen to all the albums in a row, you can maybe hear some kind of like red line going through it, and that there is some kind of like similarities. But on the other hand, in my opinion, I think Centinex, or let's put it this way, Centinex today has more similarities to Centinex in 1992 than to Centinex in, let's say, 2004.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good point.
Then, I mean, so many have also said and have understood that there have been like different, call it phases in Centinex's career, that we have a bit tried with some kind of like different styles during all the years. And so starting with some kind of more traditional old school death metal, then going to a bit more like melodic death metal, and then and that was then the peak in 2006 when we put like the band on we put it to rest for a while. Yeah. But then when we came back in 2014, then that. And the albums we released in 2014 and 16, those albums maybe sounded a bit more like Florida style death metal. Yeah. Not so much like influenced by the Stockholm sound. And then now, since a couple of years, I think Centinex have gotten a bit more, or gone a bit more towards like a bit more punkier, trashier style.
Yeah, so kind of a more old school.
More, in a way, more old school. Yes, and so it's interesting to hear like you saying that you basically don't hear any different.
Okay, I gotta admit that when I was listening to this one, I didn't have the time to go whole
No,
discography because obviously I have something like 14 albums.
Yeah, that's the 12th.
So I was like going maybe 5 latest ones. So obviously I didn't go maybe the style,
No.
revisiting the style when he started changing. But when I was thinking the early days, apart from the drum machine and all that stuff, I still felt like these guys are still basically back to the roots where the riffs are somewhat simple, but in a good way. I mean, we're not talking about technical death metal or some kind of a brutal death slam kind of a thing, not to mention these deathcore bands. I mean, obviously it depends how much nitpicking you go give an album. So someone who is very close to the genre might say, okay, album number 3 and album number 8, they're totally different. But when you come like a little bit farther away, like, but they're still Swedish death metal.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say here. So if someone is coming from, say, I don't know, thrash metal scene or black metal scene, and they start listening to Centinex, they're like, yeah, but it's a death metal band.
Yeah.
It's a death metal band from Sweden. It doesn't sound like, say, Morbid Angel.
No, I understand.
Or all that stuff. But what about the lyrics? Obviously, lyrics tend to change over the years when people start with certain kind of style, then they're more like maturing up, and then they start changing, and then they maybe change again, all that stuff. How do you review yourself, the lyrical style of Centinex over the years?
In the beginning, the Centinex lyrics were like really typical death metal lyrics about, gore and blood and death and
Violence.
violence.
Absolutely.
And in the beginning, I wrote mostly, or maybe let's say all the lyrics. I didn't enjoy it. I think it was a pain in the ass to write the lyrics. But someone had to do it, so it fell on me. But then during basically since 2014 when we did our comeback, the vocalists we have had, because we have had like 2 vocalists. They have been writing the lyrics. So I don't know honestly really what the lyrics are about, or I know they are also like in a way typical death metal lyrics, but maybe with a bit different twist compared to if I would have written them. So I mean, because in my opinion, so there has been a slight change in the lyrics during all the years, but basically pretty much the same kind of style. I think for me personally, I mean, the lyrics are important in a way, but of course the music is much more.
Yeah, music comes first.
Lyrics, they have to sound good. They have to look good. The lyrics need to, if you're playing death metal, the lyrics need to include some cool words, and the titles of the track titles are pretty important for me. But all in all, I mean the music. I mean, if you have great death metal lyrics, but really lousy guitar riffs, it doesn't make the track good.
Exactly.
But you can if you have great guitar riffs but like really crappy lyrics, it doesn't matter.
You can kind of ignore them.
Exactly.
I totally agree with that. Now, I promised to talk to you about the lineups. Obviously, lineup isn't exactly the same as 1990. So you have had your bumps along the road. How easy or hard it has been for you to find a lineup do you enjoy playing with, enjoy writing new music with, and all that stuff?
Sometimes it has been easy, and sometimes not so easy. For me, it has always been important to when you. I mean, first of all, having a lineup change or changing a member in the band, no matter if you are like if that person is leaving or if you are kicking him out, it's a pain in the ass to have a lineup change. You have to rehearse the old material, and also often, or especially if you are changing the vocalist, in a way it can like a bit change the band's sound.
Yeah, well, true.
If you are changing if there's a new bassist or even a guitarist or drummer coming in, it doesn't like really matter.
It's a common joke that bass player. Oh, do we even have a bass?
Yeah, exactly.
But so I know what you mean. I mean, it gets more obviously relevant. I mean, more obvious when we're talking about heavy metal.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers how it was with Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
And Blaze Bayley. I mean, he's a great vocalist too, but it's so different.
Yeah, because
and even death metal style, of course, the growling style, how you put out the words and all that stuff.
Yeah, and even if you have a band where the vocalist is not like doing anything, like he's not doing any lyrics or no music or no business decisions or no nothing, but still like people are identifying the band with the vocalist. So in that way, of course, it has been a bit challenging sometimes, but also for me, it has always been important that the chemistry with this new member, that it works. I basically say that if you take a new person into the band, it's about 50% is about the like musical skills and all this stuff, and then 50% is like the personality.
Well, I can totally agree.
That it has to fit into the band, into the chemistry. I mean, even if we are not like rehearsing 2 times a week anymore, but it needs to be a person which you are like able to hang with. And you are able to travel and be on the road when things maybe are not always so easy and nice. So I would. Yeah, so I would never take a person into the band, I mean, just because he or she would be like a great guitarist or whatever.
Yeah.
If that person would be a total asshole.
I mean, I totally understand from my experience. This is maybe not something I'm guessing younger people might not understand, that when you go to a rehearsal place and you play, I don't know, 1 or 2, 3 hours, and then you get out and everybody, oh, glad that asshole is gone. It works only for some time, but when you're on the road, you have lots of hours, and when there's like this, heads banging against one another, and then you don't have that chemistry, you end up in fights. These obviously will fall apart. So that chemistry is indeed very, very important.
Yeah, and because of that, it's also when a new member have come into the band, it has always been that even if I haven't known that person like personally, someone else has. I'm always like doing like some kind of background checks.
Yep.
And asking, I mean, if that person has been in some other band before, then I check with that band. Hey, you kicked that or that guy. Why did he leave? Or why did you kick him out? Then so of course, because if you take an completely like unknown person into a band, and then maybe it maybe works fine for, I mean, and that person comes into the band and you make him a full-time member, and then it maybe works fine for a month or 2 or something, and then you go on your first European tour or whatever, and then you realize that that's a fucking asshole, so then you have to change again. So it's good if some kind of like background check is possible to be. Yeah, you can do that before you take a new person into the lineup.
Now, especially fans tend to see only a very, very small portion of what band's live is. When we read an interview, we usually see, okay, now this vocalist has changed or the drummer has changed, and we don't know if there has been drama or if someone, I don't know, got kids, or maybe there's work or there's this and that. And of course, the speculation comes. And these days, it's easy to see when people argue online, like social media, maybe ex-members tend to do that with, among other, and that shit is being thrown and all that stuff. So what would be your advice for this kind of situation? Like you mentioned, you do the background check, but is there other tools for, people to, I don't know, educate themselves about like don't believe everything you read or whatever when it comes to band lineup changes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Don't believe everything you read. That's one fact which is very important. So it's better to try to form your own opinion about things if possible. Because in today's environment with, as you said, social media and stuff, and people seem to have they seem to have a need to voice their opinion about things they don't know shit about.
Yeah, there's only this small piece of stuff. Okay, did band cancel tour? Okay, it must be the vocalist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it feels that, I mean, in today's society, everything is. I mean, if you want to be someone, or let's put it this way: it's important for people to be something, and in order to be something, then you voice your opinion.
Yeah.
Because hear me, see me. Because if you are like quiet and don't say anything, then you are like nothing.
Yeah, it's so that you kind of forget your existence.
Exactly, and it seems and that's because then you have all the social media where with all the Instagram and stuff, where it's very important to put up like a good good cover, nice selfies.
Life is perfect.
Life is perfect, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so. It's if possible, it's good to try to get your own opinion about things and about people instead of just like reading and believing everything you read.
Now, obviously, a lot of things have changed since you started. Also, in the terms of like not only gigs are being made and how these festivals are getting bigger. There are lots more festivals back in the now than back in the days, but also labels have changed. Internet has obviously changed a lot, including streaming services. People don't buy as many physical products these days. Basically, everything has changed within past 20 years. Has it been all worse, or are there also some good things that have come along the way when this, I don't know, storm has taken over in extreme metal or music in general?
Well, yeah, there are like two sides to this. I mean, of course, there are like the good things, which like if you look at all the like development with the technical stuff, that's of course in a way good thing, but maybe there are some like bad things about that as well. And as you said, yes, there are a lot more labels nowadays, and there are shitloads of more bands nowadays, and you are able to record at home. You are able to make your album at home. You don't have to pay to go to expensive studio. You can do it in your rehearsal place or whatever. So yeah, the market is bigger, and there's like but it's there are good and bad sides to this, and the good, of course, there are some good bands, but then there are shitloads of bands which are not so good.
Because it's also easier to start. Then after having a drink at the bar and like, let's go home.
Exactly.
You make the guitar, start doing with your laptop, and suddenly next morning you have a hangover album made.
Yeah, and then you call it or let's say album, because if you record, I'm an old school guy. If you record 10 tracks and put it out on Spotify by yourself, that's not an album.
Well, I agree.
You have not released an album. Yeah. An album is something that like a third party, like a record label, is like releasing. But nowadays, it seems that as soon as bands have recorded some tracks home in their basement or rehearsal place or whatever, and then they put it out on Spotify, then we have released our first album. No, you haven't.
Yeah, I'm very much on the same page, because I got a lot of those requests from, hey, I've been following your channel for quite some time. Here is my band's new album. Did they give me a YouTube link? And I'm like, is this supposed to be an album? Then I go for a background check. There's a label. There's nothing but, this recording. And it feels like weird.
Yeah.
Because we're not from that generation who just puts everything up just because you demoed it.
No, exactly. And for me, I mean, if there is a record label like paying for the studio and paying for the pressing and paying for promotion, and it's like that's some kind of proof that there is like quality. They wanna invest this amount of money into that product, and they believe in that band. So that's some kind of proof that it's like they believe in it and they believe there is some kind of quality and they are able to sell it. So having a band and being signed to a real record label who are like investing time and money into your band, that's for me, that's the proof of that the band is doing something right and they deserve to call it like a record deal.
So the labels are the real gatekeepers in the scene in a way.
In a way, yes. Of course, also as you said, I mean there are a lot of labels today, and then you can start to talk about like details. If also because of the music, the market and the whole music scene has changed, and physical albums are not selling as much as they did 30 years ago. There are many labels who are not like, they are maybe pressing and paying for pressing the album CD, for example, but they are not paying for any they are not giving any advances or paying for the studio or something, and that's because of the music scene. But so there are like different kind of record labels.
Yeah, true. So that it's not the same as it used to be, like someone with a real office building with work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, different departments and blah blah blah. So, but of course, I understand that because I mean, a record label. If you want to run a record label in a professional way, of course, you need to earn money, like with any businesses. So then you have to invest money, and then you maybe earn some money also on it. So the whole, so it's like these are quite complex and difficult things. Because I mean, of course, even if I'm like in a way think that it was better before, and I'm longing for how things were in like early 90s, I do also understand that the world moves forward, and I'm not. I try to adapt and make the best out of the situation, even if, maybe I don't agree with everything what's going on within the, for example, music scene today and how things are. But on the other hand, I don't want to be that fucking bitter old guy who's
still stuck in 1993.
Yeah, still. So
the cloud.
Yeah. So I try to for me and for my bands and the things I do, I try to like do the best out of the situation. Of course, I do also have my limits, what to agree to and what to do. But in a way, you have to like follow or you have to keep up with the current situation, and so. It won't be in 1992 anymore.
Again.
Never again. So it's just better to try to adapt and accept it.
Now, one thing I want to talk about outside Centinex is obviously, like, before we got into content about this interview, we've been in touch with you setting up interviews with me over the years. So you also do a job outside the band in still being in the metal scene. What exactly is on your table, so to speak, when it comes to do you book bands, or is it PR, or?
I run a booking agency called Dreamtide Music. So I have a bunch of bands signed to Dreamtide Music, which I'm their booking agent in Europe.
Yep.
So and. Two of the bands I'm working with, Nonslaughter and Inquisition, I'm their European booking agent. So it's that way we got in touch.
Yeah, but it's interviewed both, in case you haven't wondered. Still on the channel, both Inquisition and Manslaughter.
Yeah, exactly. So I work with, currently it's 8 bands, 2 of them being my own bands, Centinex and Demonical. So I work with, booking shows, festivals, club shows, tours. Yeah, I'm booking agent.
Now, when it comes to Demonical, how do you, prioritize these bands, Centinex versus Demonical? How it goes?
Both are. I sometimes get the question, which of the bands is more important to me?
That's kind of like me going around with that.
Yeah, but that's like asking you if you have like two kids.
Yeah.
Asking
Which one is the favorite?
Yeah, which one do you love more?
Yeah.
So both bands are important to me, but both bands are like different. Even for some outsider, it might sound and see. It seems that they are like the same band, but they are not.
Yeah.
Some years ago, both bands shared the lineup a bit more.
Yep.
Today, there's completely different, except me, of course, but there's totally different members in Demonical and Centinex. We have also, in the past, with Demonical, we are on Agonia Records. In the past, Centinex was also on Agonia Records. Now we are on a different label. So I have done some things trying to separate the bands a bit more from each other. And also, of course, musically, I think there's like a huge difference between those two. So both bands are important to me, but maybe a bit like different ways. And also, when it's coming, when we are talking about how there's enough time for both bands, yes, it goes a bit in like. I'm splitting a year like into, now we have the new Centinex album out and been out since October last year. So now we've done quite a lot of shows in Sweden and now playing Finland and stuff like that. So now it's a bit like focus on the Centinex like live stuff, live shows. And on the same time we are working with the new Demonical album. So we are like demoing, and we are not doing any shows now with Demonical. We will do later in the spring and then in the summer, and then we will record a new Demonical album in the spring and summer. So when that will be out, then it's like there's less time for Centinex. So it's
like taking turns.
Yeah, taking turns in a way, and also, the bands are like, it's also a bit. There's a different way for me to seeing these two bands and how, I'm the like main member in both bands, but in a way Demonical is more like structured in a way, and it's, I don't know if you want to call it like more professional, and Centinex is like a bit more back to the basics, old school,
a bit more punky,
just play metal, drink beer, having a good time. So there's like a different
but is there a difference in audience?
Yes. Well, yes and no. Of course, there are metalheads. They are metalheads.
Yeah, they're coming for a death metal show. I'd be going like, oh, I don't like Centinex, I go for a Demonical, or the other way around.
Yeah, I think Demonical attracts females a bit more than Centinex when you look at these statistics at Spotify and stuff. So, but
that's our beach.
Yes, that's our beach. So no, but I really enjoy doing both bands, and it's a bit funny because now I feel that some years ago I felt that I didn't like really have time for both bands, but now it feels like there's no problem to have time for both bands.
Oh,
so that's like good. And even if both bands are more popular than ever and more like but bands are playing a lot live in different periods. So I really, and also doing the booking and the management and stuff. So I also have time for that. So. And on top of that, I have, of course, like a normal day job also.
Yeah, which is something that people don't even realize. Oh, you play in a band. You don't have to have a day job. Or you play two bands. for sure you don't have a time or need to day job, and then people are like, yeah, we do.
Yeah, who otherwise would pay my bills.
Now,
So-
we're not getting any younger, so how many years you, consider you have still time to do this until you're like too old and gonna say like, I'm done?
I don't know. I have been thinking about that. I mean, as long as I live, I think I will be like creating music, writing music. Because that's, with all these things about playing in a band or in bands, in a way, I enjoy most writing music. Of course, I do also enjoy playing live and this, but somehow I feel that like writing music, and when I write like most of the material in both Centinex and the Molecule, and when I write music, I play guitar. I play guitar riffs, and that's like something I really enjoy. And when I have finished writing a track, I of course think that's like the best track in the world and the best track I have ever done. I want to have it recorded and released now. So that's, and I also I play a lot of guitar, so I also form a lot of like different project bands in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm sitting and playing guitar and then I do some like 80s heavy metal kind of like, or even like hair metal riffs or something, then all of a sudden, right.
We have my own glam.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I have made like 3 or 4 tracks, and then I'm gonna start this fucking hair metal project band. But then it takes like a couple of days, and then something else comes in between. Because when I write those, let's say if I write like 4 tracks, I maybe do it like during 3 days in a row or during a weekend.
Yeah.
And then there comes some other things in between, and there's some days passes by, and then I like put it in the back of my head, and then it's not like so like up to the topic anymore. So I have a lot of those. I say I have started shitloads of different kind of project bands in my head, and also I actually wrote a whole album of like folk metal kind of like a whole album influenced by like Isengard and Storm from Norway, like that kind of not this like trollish blah blah. No,
I know what
like really like this kind of old school
Nordic folk
metal. Yeah. No fucking or very little like double bass drumming, not this like modern shit.
Yeah.
But like so I
Really like folk band.
yeah, so I have like and that's already like 3 years ago or something. I wrote that album, or put all the riffs together and like did a basic demo. So I have that album written, and someday when I find some extra time, I would like to
Finish it
and like record that album and have some guest vocalists and blah blah blah.
Sounds good.
So so I have it. Anyways, I enjoy a lot of like creating music.
Yeah.
Of course, as I said, I enjoy playing live also, and doing all those kind of things, which are also like a part of being in a band. But creating music is the biggest thing for me, and therefore I think I will not play live like with Centinex anymore in 15 or 20 years if I live that long. But I'm for sure I will create music. It maybe will not be death metal or metal at all, but I will create music. So that's like the...
Yeah, well, I would have guessed it anyway. Now, towards the end we go. Before we quit, if you get to choose one Demonical album and one Centinex album people should start with, we're assuming there are some newbies on the other side of the camera, which album they should start with?
Well, they should start with the latest ones from both bands. So Mass Destroyer from the latest Demonical album, which that album came like 3 years ago. We released a live album also, but the latest studio album from 2022, Mass Destroyer with Demonical, and then the new Centinex album with Guts and Glory. Because I think those albums, those both albums, they represent the bands as they are now. And then when if people enjoy those albums, they can start to look at the like back catalog. But I think in a way, it's better to start with the latest ones.
All right.
And then, of course, go further from that. But as I said, I think both bands, they are like, even if you are listening to, and with Centinex, for example, that's our 12th album, but I think there's still that red line through them all. So start with the latest one and then go from there.
All right. Now, we already mentioned this briefly, but let's take a look at, say, a couple of years ahead. Now we're in early 2026. What are the plans for the rest of the year, or maybe 27, maybe even 28 when it comes to both of the bands? What do you have scheduled up ahead?
With Centinex, we are playing live as much as possible during this year. We are now doing Finland, and then we have some shows in Sweden in the spring, and then we have a bunch of festivals during the summer and autumn. So that's as far as I know. The plans with Centinex, they are basically up until late 2026 this year. Don't know about next year. And with Demonical, working now on a new album, doing some festivals in the spring and summer. Maybe the album will be out late this year, which means that I think 2027 I will be quite occupied with Demonical. So maybe during 2027 there won't be that much time for Centinex.
All right.
So we'll see. So usually I try to also and need to plan in a way quite far ahead. But I mean, we are now just went into 2026. So
barely started.
So planning up until the end of the year is like enough for me. But of course, also with like bookings for festivals and stuff, as we all, or many of us know, festivals are like starting. They book the bands like further and further ahead. So already now there are some talks about summer festivals 2027.
Yeah, of course.
So that's also a bit strange to when you book a festival show like 1.5 year ahead. It's a bit strange to think that on that 10th of July, that Saturday in 1.5 year, I need to be in
that place
in southern Germany, out in the countryside. So
it's kind of weird to go that far ahead.
Exactly, because a lot of things can happen during 1.5 year. I mean, you can get a child, or you can whatever. There's like a lot of things. So
definitely. All right, let's go for a bunch of quick questions before it quits. So be ready. Don't overthink. Favorite band of all time?
Running Wild.
Your favorite album by them?
I would say Under Jolly Roger.
Favorite movie of all time?
I don't know. I don't have.
Okay, you don't watch too many.
No.
Any favorite books?
No, I don't read books.
Favorite place you ever been to or played a gig at?
I would say South America in general.
Any place you would most like to play gig with?
Japan.
Which any particular city?
No, Tokyo. But in general, I would like to travel to Japan. Never been to Japan.
Weird question. If there was a fan who would like to bring you some kind of a small gift, what it would be? Well, I mean, what it should be.
A bottle of some nice alcohol.
Some nice alcohol. That's always a good answer. All right. Thank you so much, Martin. It's a pleasure talking to you. Now, people, you do your homework and start checking out the music. Everybody will have their own favorites. That's given. And like he mentioned, sometimes this band might feel a little bit better than this band, but both are good death metal for sure. So I don't think it doesn't matter which way you go. And if you prefer his order, going from the newest to the oldest one, that's a very, very fine order. I like to do it in the reverse order. Start with the older, but maybe there's a trick to that. But anyway, give them a chance. And when you get the possibility to see them live, obviously do that. Because one thing we have learned, especially at this age, 50 plus, it might be too late if you think about, okay, I'm going to see them in the future, 10 years or so.
No,
So when you have the possibility, seize the moment, go to see live and enjoy what you have. And should you have some late questions, which I didn't ask, put them in the comments box below and I will send them to Martin. And maybe if he's feeling kind, he will answer them.
absolutely. I will.
This is all from Fuusio, Turku, Rauta channel, Centinex. Now, off you go. You will find links in the description box for their social media and Metal Archive site links, so you can start checking out the latest news and also the dates for the gigs announced. So now you are all prepared to enter a full Centinex experience. Any final words of wisdom to your fans?
Yeah, thank you for all the support during all those years. It has been a nice ride. And we will continue for a while, at least.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And stay metal. All right. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
I'll take this one. And then before you go, let's take a quick photo, which I will use for the...